This episode is sponsored by Phrase Flowers, a Western New York family-run flower farm and floral preservationist. They offer unique and one-of-a-kind pressed flowers in the shapes of buffaloes. Every buffalo is handcrafted, and because they are made with flowers, each one has their own look and personality.
You can get a hold of them on their website at phraseflowers.com. That's F-R-A-S-E flowers.com. Or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Bring more joy and color into your life at Phrase Flowers.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Monday, April 28th, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, the man waving the sign, Phil, episode 355. It's our final episode of April. We're going to be recording on Wednesday because of what's happening on Friday, but this will be the last episode regular show that's coming out in April until we get into our final stretch of in-season mode. I think we reached the point each season, now that we've switched to like in-season, off-season mode, that we reached the one point where it's like, man, I'm really excited for like 2 shows a week because we have so much to talk about. And then it gets to like the end of April, early May, where it's like, I can't wait for the off season. So it's down to 1 show a week. The 2 to 1 and then the 1 to 2 was the best switch we've ever made with this show.
Yeah, but at the same time, the longer we have 2 episodes, the better the Buffalo Bandits are doing. So that is exciting. At this point, I feel like the playoffs give us the oomph we need to finish it strong. If I don't know, if we were like if the Bandits finished before the Sabres, we'll say that, and we were still in 2 episodes, then it'd be a real rough grind. But I think the playoffs help keep us fresh and interested. And wow, what a game it was.
Yeah, so we're about to dive into it. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can check for Phil's article coming out on Tuesday there. You can check for my predictions, which I went 3 for 4. Not the score predictions weren't like dead on, but I was 3 for 4 in picking the winners. And then you can check out our link tree to check out our store on our social media sites, or just go to the website while you're reading Phil's article and hit the shop tab at the top of the website. You can represent the BSC on the go and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. If you like goals, this game was not for you because they broke the all-time NLL record for lowest scoring game, not just playoffs, but in the history of the league. They also broke the lowest total score for a winning team as well, which makes sense when it's the lowest scoring game in NLL history. 5-4 over the Seals. They didn't score the entire second half, but it did not matter. The defense and Matt Vince were incredible. Ian McKay, 2. Weiss, Bucky, and Smith, 1 each. Vince, 48 of 52 saves. Shots were 52 to 44 in favor of the Seals, even though I have Buffalo. It's not true. The Seals outshot Buffalo by 8. Face-off 7-4 in favor of San Diego. And the power play. Both teams were asleep at the wheel. Buffalo 0 for 3. San Diego 1 for 5. There's not going to be a ton of scoring to talk about whatsoever, but there's a lot of other stuff to talk about. So quick overview, Phil. What did you think of the game on Friday night to lead off the 2024-25 NLL playoffs?
I know it was closer to 2 goals of a victory, but the Bandits in round 1, I don't know if they got the memo that they don't have to keep it this tight. Maybe just open up the scoring and open up the victory a little bit bigger. Last year we had to sit through overtime, which was horrifying, and this year the entire game felt like overtime. Even when it was 2-2 in the first half, at one point I turned to my brother and I was like, why does it feel like the Seals are up 10-2? It was just one of those games where I feel like it's kind of on both sides, where if you're the Bandits and it's 2-2, you feel like the other team's somehow dominating and winning by a bunch, even though it's an even score. And then if you're the Seals watching that game, I feel like it's the same way, where it's 2-2 and it's going longer and longer into the second half. You're like, nobody's scoring. You're like, okay, one of these teams is about to bust out. Hopefully it's mine. And the entire game, I was kind of waiting for that to happen, especially with the Seals playing so much of a forward press that they were. I know that's kind of their MO, but I feel like it was really ramped up for this game. I thought as the game went on for both teams, at some point it was going to be one of those games where it's really close and low scoring, and all of a sudden somehow it finishes 13-11 in the fourth quarter. Both teams just go off, and for some reason that seems to happen often in the NLL, and it just kept dragging on and on and on and on and staying so close. It just felt like a very, very intense game, which was a lot of fun, but very horrifying to watch at the same time.
Yeah, it felt like a game where each goal was worth two, pretty much. It was because they were so hard to come by. I mean, 1-0 after one. It was 5-2 at half because Buchanan scored right before half, like literally right before half, and then 5-3 after three. I thought the defense was amazing, which we'll talk about. I thought Matt Vince was insane. This is vintage primetime playoff Matt Vince that, you know, when everybody's complaining the regular season year after year after year, they're like, he's too old, got to be benched. This is what you have Matt Vince for, is these type of games, and this is what Buffalo had been missing since Matt Vince signed here back in 2019, I believe it was. It's just they have never had a goaltender like this. They've had great goaltenders in the past, but they've never had a goaltender, because nobody's had a goaltender like Matt Vince. The offense did struggle, but they were going against an elite San Diego defense. You already said the forward press that they had, there was no time and space whatsoever to do anything. As soon as the offense had the ball, the defense was right on top of them. The back checking, the lack of transition that San Diego was able to get back and stop the majority of the game was insane. Ulrich was playing out of his mind. After the game, I went to Brooke. I was like, how does Ulrich live with this? I mean, he let in 5 goals in the entire first half, didn't allow a second half goal, and he lost. Like,
it's the same way Josh Allen lives with all of his losses in the playoffs.
Yeah, probably. You should look up Josh Allen's number and find out.
They have a support group of playing MVP style in the playoffs and losing.
I already mentioned the fewest goals in NLL history, blah, blah, blah. Josh Byrne getting hurt in the fourth. I mean, that is definitely something to note. His shifts were limited. He did not do the victory lap after the game. You could definitely see he was limping on and off the field. When he had the ball, he looked like a step slower than our normal Josh Byrne, but he was still able to gut through it. But again, that's similar to what I've said multiple times, is when a player's able to finish that same game they got hurt, how much is that adrenaline and how will that affect them moving forward? So that's definitely something to keep an eye on moving into the next round on Friday, because you're probably not going to win a championship if Josh Byrne is not playing. It's just that simple. And then last one, just win. I do not care what the score looks like. I do not care as much about what the game looks like. Yes, we're going to break down the game, what we like and what we don't. But in the end, especially in round one where it's one and done, it's win and move on. Who cares how? Just get it done, because you get the next opponent. Round one is the scariest, and we asked Pat Gregoire, and we've asked multiple people, how do you feel about round one? As people on the outside, as content creators, it's fantastic, but you always want more lacrosse. Yes, that's fun, but you don't get games like this if it's a 3-game series, in my opinion, because it literally means do or die, and it was fantastic. All the games are amazing, but we warned everybody going into it. Sandy, this is not a 1-8 matchup, and they were even saying on the broadcast, this is not a 1-8 matchup. This was a fantastic, fantastic game. I don't know if we want to transition to the offense, but this was probably this was one of, if not the best games to cover this season for the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a few things. One, you don't get this kind of intensity if it is a 3-game set.
Yep.
Like, I mean, even if it's this low scoring or the Seals come out with a victory, like, it just doesn't feel as intense when there's another game to follow up. If whatever team wins or loses, you're like, okay, whatever, it's in the past, move on, go get a win. You don't get this kind of intensity when every single goal could mean the end of your season. Same with the Georgia game last year. I mean, I know it's brought up all the time, but they were one overtime goal away from not moving on and not having the chance to go to the finals. It's the same thing here. I know that last goal came extremely late, but you were up 2 goals majority of the game, majority of the second half. It was only 2 goals. That's terrifying, but you don't get that intensity if it's not a one and done. And the other big thing to me was not having to come on here and talk about injuries as an excuse. I hate injuries as an excuse in general. I know it is a big deal. Injuries can really, really hurt teams and sink teams, but it was really nice not having to come on here after a loss potentially and say, well, they didn't have Cloutier, they didn't have Matisse, so, just have that kind of excuse in the back pocket. I'm really glad that they can kind of move forward and hopefully get some of those players back, and instead of kind of using it as an excuse for a loss, you can use it as momentum, hopefully moving forward if they get anybody back for the next game. Like you said, Josh Byrne could be a issue.
Yeah, the Klutch one was very interesting because he wasn't on the injury report, so unless he picked something up, the shoot around, and even that was before the injury report was put out, that would mean he's a healthy scratch. And that's something alarming to me, that one of the players that you count on for depth scoring couldn't even crack this lineup. And this is nothing against Scanlon whatsoever, but once he was out, I was like, okay, Scanlon's going to be there. That means... That was one of the positives for me is, okay, that forces Ian McKay to have to play full-time forward now that Klutch is out, because if Klutch was in, I think you would have gotten Ian McKay back on the back end more. And he put in 2 of the 5 goals that you scored. It would not have gone well. But we already mentioned it. San Diego's immediate defense, like as soon as the ball, any set plays out of timeouts, they've already had the defender right on the runner. I think Smith did... I think this is one of the areas that Smith's game was not good in this one. He tried to body the players up the boards, and how many times did he get the ball loose? I mean, yes, the first goal came from that. Ian McKay was able to gather it and go right in and score. First goal of the game going right down the middle. But there were multiple other times where he just got pinned against the boards, and then the second guy came in and they stole the ball away. So that was one of the negatives that I saw in this one. But again, that goes to San Diego's just down-your-throat defense the entire game, and hats off to them, because the first half I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no way they're going to be able to play this style all game, and they did, and they kept up the intensity the entire time. It's the secondary chances that Buffalo was getting. One of them leads to Token Anakok blocking the pass from O'Rig, getting the ball back and drawing that 5 that got reduced to a 2. But it's just they were all over. Like, yes, they only scored 5 goals, but the amount of time that they killed off by getting second and third and fourth chances on offense to wear down that defense even more. And again, didn't pay off because you didn't score in the second half, but it ended up keeping their offense on the sidelines and limiting the chances they had. I thought Barclay and Deacon especially did a fantastic job on Josh Byrne even before he got injured. I mean, Josh Byrne was just firing stuff from the outside. Anytime that they did get inside, O'Rig was making those big-time saves. But I thought Buchanan was struggling on the quick sticks, especially on the power play. He was missing the net. He hit the ref on the one of them. But Nanakoke, I already mentioned that one. And then the last one, before we can kind of dive into the actual numbers, I thought it was great work by Scanlon right at the midline. He was able to somehow jump in midair, grab it, and knew he was going to go down, but I think he saw a player or something and like smacked it against the ground for like a nice bounce pass. It was a great move, and then McKay had him wide open in front of the net and just missed him. I think that would have been a golden opportunity, but he sailed it. But I think there were steps that the offense could have taken to maybe score 7, 8, 9 goals, but I think overall they got defensed and goalied on the offense, and the defense and goaltender for Buffalo bailed them out. But I think I am not worried about the offense moving forward. I know there's a lot of people out there that are because of the numbers that they're putting up, but I think for the most part, San Diego's defense and O'Rig should get more of the credit than Buffalo should get with the blame on offense here.
And I think a big part of it as well is the refereeing. And this isn't a bad thing, but when the defenses are allowed that much freedom to hold players, to truck players, like it was an extremely physical game. And right from the beginning, the San Diego Seals came out with what normally during a regular season would be a lot of penalties. And the refs were just letting it go, which is fine. They were pretty consistent on both sides for letting it go. But as far as who benefits in that situation, the defense by a million times. Like, it makes it so much harder on the offense to find space, to get open, to get free, because the defense just has pretty much full reins to do whatever the heck they want, which, again, makes it more intense, but I feel like it's something you can't necessarily take away from the offense. Like, it's not their fault that all of a sudden defenses can have the freedom to play that much more physical, because the amount of space you have to get inside, to find those good lanes, shrinks a lot when the freedom is allowed for the defense. And even the holds that seem to be happening quite often, they were let go for both sides. I'm fine with it, but that makes it that much harder on on an offense to find that space there. Normally that'd be a call, so then the defense has to back off a little, and then that is where you get those quick passes and find those open lanes, but that just wasn't allowed in this game, which makes it that much harder on both offenses. I mean, yes, we're talking a lot about the defenses, goalies, and we'll get to the Bandits version of it, but San Diego finished the year 5th in scoring as well, and they put up 3 goals for 99% of the game. Like, these are both great offenses, and I do think the way that the refs were letting everything go made it that much harder on both offensive sides to find any room to really do what they do best and get those golden opportunities.
Yeah, I think I absolutely loved the way the refs were policing it. There was nothing egregious, so there wasn't like hits to the head they were ignoring. There wasn't any like purposely tripping they were ignoring, but there was some rough stuff that they were letting play through it. And to me, again, I have said it for 4 years now. Either ref it consistently good or ref it consistently bad so the players know what to do. I think in the second half they got a little bit more ticky-tack. A tiny bit. Tiny bit. But even just because first half no penalties, second half you get a bunch. But I think the second half players were like, okay, it's 5-2. We got to crank this up even more. And then there were multiple hits to the head. That illegal substitution was not even close. There was 5 players on the field. That's got to get fixed up, but we'll talk about that in a second. But this one came down to the secondary scoring. That's kind of what we mentioned in this one was you definitely need the secondary scoring to step up in this one. And to an extent, and I'll do it percentage-wise, the secondary scoring was responsible for 80% of the goal scoring if you take out Josh Byrne and Dane Smith, because both of those two players went 1 for 23 shooting. Chase Frazier went 0 for 4. Nanticoke went 0 for 3. But McKay, 2 goals. The great rebound one. I don't know how he caught it behind the defender's back and then switched it back over to his right side and scored that one. The one goal that Dane Smith did score, O'Rig was like half an inch away from saving that one with his leg.
He kicked it.
Yeah. Buchanan had a great goal right before half, and that ended up being the game winner with 0.1 second left in the first half. But, yeah, I mean, Matt Vince, he made the fantastic save on the second one off the back wall. The defenders weren't there. He made the save, and then he hits Weiss in stride. Weiss puts the brakes on. I think it was Barclay goes sliding right by him, and then he dives to the crease. It was great secondary scoring that led Buffalo to the victory here. Again, goal percentage-wise, not overall goals, because overall goals looked a bit shaky. But I think not having Kluch, having Byrne and Smith go 1 for 23 in shooting, we got to figure out, or they have to figure out, again, I hate using the word we because I'm not on the field, but they have to figure out the connection between Nanticoke and Frazier, because it has not been right lately. They were 0 for 11 shooting in this one, and it seemed like there was some type of disconnect. Usually they're good for 1 or 2 great golden opportunities with the pick and rolls in this one. They had one, and Nanticoke just missed them. There was another one where they just the connection's off a bit, and I don't know if that's because Nanticoke's been in and out of the lineup a bit. Frazier hasn't been himself for the last few games, but if they can get that connection going, Byrne can hopefully be healthy, and Smith can get going again. We'll talk about it in a second with the Vancouver matchup coming up, but I personally am not super worried about the offense because we've seen the offense step up when they absolutely need to. It's just this one, San Diego and O'Rig were fantastic in this one.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them either. I mean, they did have a lot of good chances. Even Byrne was ringing them off the pipe left and right. Like, there were so many that were, again, few inches away. And even like you said earlier, I could easily see the Bandits finishing this game with 7, 8, 9, 10 goals if a few of those passes were a little bit crisper, like you mentioned. If Buchanan hits one of the 3 empty nets he was allowed to shoot at, which he normally makes those plays, and then if Byrne, a couple of those ones that he had O'Rig burned pretty badly and then just ringed it off the pipe and just missed those situations. So they had plenty of opportunities. They looked good enough to get a lot more goals, but like you said, when they did beat the defense, O'Rig was playing out of his mind as well. A few times that they rang it off the post and a few just missed golden opportunities that normally they hit. So a few minor corrections, I think. I don't think this needs to be like an overhaul of the offense, of the system. Like, they were fine. Like, it was just a playoff-style game that was extremely physical. Both goalies, both defenses playing absolutely electric, and it's just one of those games. Like, everyone's freaking out that this high-flying offense only scored 5 goals when in reality you should just be able to trust the high-flying offense to bounce back to what they normally do And it's playoff lacrosse. I know other teams in other games ended up being pretty high scoring, but this was one of those games that was going to be low scoring, grinded out, all defense, all goalies. But I think the chances and opportunities they had did look good. It was just a matter of O-Rig stepping up in those situations, and same for the Seals.
The only other thing I got, and I saw the play design, and they just didn't run what play design I thought. Right at the end of the game where Priolo gets the loose ball, calls a timeout, and they come out of the timeout. They were down on the penalty kill. Smith had the ball in the back corner. Vince went to the other side, and then you had McKay, Buchanan, and Priolo, I believe, right at the midfield line. You had McKay closest to the box, or the closest to the bench. What I said they should have done, because they had two guys on Smith. Yes, you still have Smith pass it over to Vince, but as soon as the whistle goes, you have Ian McKay run back towards where the ball is, and then as soon as the ball goes to Matt Vince, shoot up to the bench, you shoot Frazier out the back, and you have Frazier wide open at the very end. I thought that's what they were going to do, because you don't even need Frazier to score. You don't even need him to take a shot. You just need somebody at an outlet to it, so it's all the way down there. I thought that was what their play was going to be. It didn't end up being it. Vince ended up just throwing it down and throwing it short to Buchanan, and that's how they ended up getting back and scoring. But after, I think Priolo swept it down the field. But I thought that would have been to me, send this to John Tavares. I thought that was going to be the play design. I thought I would have liked that play design. It didn't end up mattering. I just thought that play design would have worked out better.
It was really tough because it was not only 6-on-5, it was 6-on-4 at the power play or the penalty kill being out there.
No, they still had O-Rig in net.
Right. Oh, that's true. So it would have been 5-on-4.
Yeah.
You're still down a guy because of the power.
Yes.
I forgot that he ran back in, which also I thought was weird. I thought they would triple low.
That's what I thought.
Because they were up, and I was like, well, O-Rig's useless. But anyway, even their great play before the first half, Tavares mentioned it in the press conference that wasn't necessarily the play design. It just kind of, it's one of the options of the play design, but it wasn't after the timeout. They were like, this is what we're going to do. It just happened to be, this is what looks good to them and kind of made up in the middle of the game. And I do want to give Fraser a ton of credit on that play for completely taking out his man. I don't know if you saw it, but he pretty much tackled the guy. They were kind of in a huge tussle, and he just clears him out of the way, which allows Smith to go uncontested all the way to the net, which allows him to throw it to Buchanan. So Fraser does deserve a lot of credit for clearing out that defender and literally tackling him right in front of the ref, and the ref was like, it's a physical game. There it is. But yeah, moving on to the defense.
So before we move on to the defense and goaltending, which there's going to be a lot and nothing to talk about, we'll get into our second sponsor of the show, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room is at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps, offering a wide variety of beers, sours, ciders, seltzers, and malt beverages.
So Wednesday, they got Geeks Who Drink Trivia, 7:30. Thursdays are Thank You Thursdays to first responders, to the military, and to teachers, 10% off your entire tap. And then Happy Hour Friday from 3 to 7. But we're recording about like 10:30 on Sunday morning. We're trying to do early morning recordings on Sundays now.
Brunch with the boys.
That'll change next week. But it's got me thinking about the patio once again over at Tap That Tap Room. It's got to be opening. But when they don't have an event going on, or even when they do and you don't want to participate in the event, they got board games, they got card games for everybody. So if the weather is nice, you can go out on the patio. If the weather's not nice, you can stay inside and play the board and card games. You can bring your
dogs.
four-legged friends with you. Dogs, not cats, Phil. You got to leave your cats at home, at least for now. But yeah, with 30 different varieties, with that rotate all the time, with the food options they have, you can go there and spend hours there and just hang out with your friends, hang out with your family, hang out with whoever there. Go there, make new friends, make new family, do whatever you got to do while you're there. But it's the best place to go to just have it's a very chill atmosphere, which is even better. A lot of people like the big scenes with a lot of people and hard to get beers. I don't know why. Just go to Tap That Tap Room. You can kind of serve yourself and get whatever you want. You don't have to wait for that bartender. So to find out what else they have coming up, check out their Facebook page and find out what's on tap and what's on deck. Check out tapthattaproom.com. We'll go to the defense. I think the one harping issue, I have two, I guess. Three. I remember the third.
Three harps.
Sorry. Three minor issues I have. The defense has to get off the field quicker. Priolo, Weiss, I'm talking to you directly. There's far too many times in this game where they wanted to stay and play, and by the time they jogged off the field, not even sprinted, jogged off the field to the offense, there was 10, 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Your defenders, there's 4 righty forwards that want to play. I understand if there was injuries on the front end or you want to rotate guys in, but that's the side that you don't need your defenders or transition players to be playing. That's the time where, okay, you get down there, and I get it. You want to give the offensive players that are out there an outlet, or in the transition game an outlet. But when it's already taken care of and the offense is flowing out, get your butt off the field and get the skilled offensive players onto the field. Like, there were far too many times in this one where Steve Perillo's in the far corner and he's jogging to the bench with like 17 seconds. By the time he gets to the bench, it's 10 seconds and the other guy's on the field. So that was one of them. They have the worst man advantage defense in the entire league. It's ridiculous how golden opportunities all season long. It's not just this one. That Matt Vince has to bail them out. They have to fix that moving forward.
So
otherwise, it's ridiculous. And then Dylan Robinson, I'm not going to harp on him. This is the second time a major incident moving forward. But my thought here is you run a little bit further, kill more clock, and get closer to the net. I don't know why he shot so far out. Like, that one made no sense to me. You had the whole lane. The defender was... I rewatched it multiple times. The defender never attacks him, so there was no need to shoot it there. Whatever. After that, you don't go for the guy's head. And even then, this is the one issue. I originally thought, okay, there's no way he's going to be suspended because it's the last time he got suspended, it was a dead ball foul where he got the guy in the back of the head. But because of that, he has been suspended. Like, one game ago? I do think that it is a likely chance. It's probably like a 52% chance that he's going to get suspended for the next game because it just happened. Like, he just got suspended for the same thing. I know it's a lacrosse play. I get that. But, dude, you went right for the guy's head with your stick. Like, you have to control. Like, I believe they were even saying it on the broadcast. The Halifax one, I believe it was. Pat Gregoire was saying it. Yes, you're in control of your own stick. You have to be aware of where your own stick's going. You got him directly in the noggin. So, we might not have Dylan Robinson for the Friday game. But overall, again, those are my 3 minor issues with this team on defense. Overall, my God, 3 goals for what, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. It's insane what type of performance them and Matt Vince put on.
Yeah, as far as, we'll go back to what you were saying as well. There was also one play that Dane, I don't know how much time you have. It seems, suspect, I guess, to pick up a loose ball when it's a true change of possession. Like, there's a whistle, dead ball. Dane went over and picked one up, and it was the San Diego scored on the next possession. But he picked it up when nobody was on the field and then ran into immediate trouble. I think he passed it off to McKay. McKay ran into the boards, into 2 guys, and then lost the ball, and then San Diego picked it up and took it back. Like, wait, I don't know why he picked it up so quickly and then was immediately attacked, passed it off to someone who was like triple teamed because nobody's on the field. And then same thing with, like you mentioned, the penalty earlier with the too many men. I don't know what the heck is happening on that one. The shorthanded, the second I saw it, I was like,
that one I rewatched and I was like, oh man, did they run off the field too early? And then I was like, no, they had 5 full guys on there. It wasn't even close. Like too quick. It was, they sent out 2 guys.
I think somebody missed Nanico going out the front door because he was already down in the offensive zone. Somebody they looked at him like, wait, what? But that can't happen in that situation, especially because that eventually goes to a 5-on-3, which you and I both are going to mention. Priolo, thank goodness, he did what he did and was able to draw a penalty and get that back to 4-on-3, or else you're looking at potentially 2 goals. But even Dylan Robinson ended the game, 5-minute major that could have cost them 2 goals. That could have been the game-tying 2 goals. Luckily, the Bandits defense, especially the penalty kill, was incredible in this one. And that one, it didn't look as nearly as violent as the last one because, like you said, 1, it wasn't dead ball. 2, I do think, like you said, he was trying to do a lacrosse move. He was trying to go over the guy's head to get to his stick is what it looked like, and just miscalculated. But like you mentioned, more than anything, especially at that time in the game, don't even come near his head. Get your stick
Or
out of there.
Thomas
there's
Woody
just no
gathers
reason.
the loose ball when nobody's around him. That could also
Right.
solve the or run closer to the net and score, and then you're not in that situation.
Or,
So many
Don't attack the
hypothetically.
guy who's literally running away from your offensive zone. If the worst case scenario, just let him go. Stay on his back, but you don't need to go after him that aggressively when he's actively running back at his net. It's just, I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't get suspended. And if he does, I think the, what's it called? Oh my gosh. The
appeal process?
Yeah, appeal will be interesting. Do you just accept it and get him out of one game and then not let the appeal go on? Or do you appeal it and hope for the best? But that is for down the line. But as far as positives go, 17 block shots, tied for their season high. They did it once before against Calgary this year. And the other time that they were the second most block shots of the season was 15 against the Seals when they beat the Seals in that victory. So they really like blocking shots against San Diego. But 17 is incredible. The defense played extremely, extremely well. It was awesome to see the flip mentally, and Priola mentioned, or Tavares mentioned this as well in the press conference, that he was on his offensive side of the bench, but he yelled down to the defensive side, hey, if the refs aren't calling anything, go for it. Just go out there and play physical. And you could see the mental switch after the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. They're oh, okay, they're not calling anything. And then Priola comes out and just bulldozes Courier, and Courier's looking around, and the refs are that's what we're going to allow today. And you could see the switch in their physicality, which was just awesome to see. And then, like you said, really, really close game. But when this team's allowed to play physical, that is absolutely their element, and they were loving every minute of it. But this defense played absolutely incredible. The players that San Diego added to this team, not throughout the year, but that hadn't played against Buffalo with Benesh, they hadn't seen him yet. They hadn't seen Courier and Benesh in the same game. So for the defense to have to make those adjustments on the fly and play the way they did, they played really, really well.
Yeah, and I will give we've talked about the refs, good or bad, multiple times this year. We're not a show that harps on the refs because there's so many other things that happen in this game. But I absolutely, and I said it off the top, I loved how the referees ref this game. They let the majority of the stuff go. They let the players settle it on the field. I think even David Brock sent out a tweet that said this was one of the best first halves of lacrosse he's seen.
Also mentioned in his press conference that he loved it. He loved that they're not calling ticky-tacky things and just let him play.
Let them play, get rough, but then you call the egregious stuff, and that's what they ended up doing in the second half. But I agree with you. The switch happened, and that's what I loved about the referees. Is not just because they let it happen. They ref consistently the entire game, and that was fantastic to me. So hats off to the referees for doing that. Absolutely loved it. More games like that moving forward, please. Absolutely. Again, the rough stuff, the head hits, get that stuff out of the game. But the ticky-tack stuff, let it go. It's the playoffs. Even in the regular season, let the players settle it and figure it out on the field, because besides the two head hits, there was nothing really egregious that happened in this one that's worthy of, there was no boarding calls, there was no hits from behind,
right.
There was no slashing to the people's legs. It was a very well played game and a very well ref game. But we already mentioned the block shots that caused turnovers. The defense were switching off. Yes, there were some breakdowns, but again, that's going to happen when you're going against a team that's probably not supposed to be an 8 seed going against you. But, for the righties with the defense, the righties for San Diego went 2, 7, and 9 on 34 shots. They were 2 for 34 shooting. Yes, I understand they only scored 4 goals, so that's going to happen. But the lefties, 2 goals, 16 shots. Benny was 0 on 7 shots. Courier only had those 2 goals, and one of them was a ridiculous one that he shot around the defenders. I mean, Belter, yes, he probably could have gotten a little bit closer, but you shoot around the defenders. Even if Belter's right on his breadbasket there, he's going to shoot around the guys, and it was a perfectly placed shot. Govit, 0 and 3 shots. This was a game where, to me, something that especially the guys on OTCB mentioned, the left side of the forward group for this team was a question mark coming into it. To me, yes, the righties were shut down for the most part by Buffalo's defense, but they weren't getting any backup from the lefty forwards, which definitely hurt them in this one. But overall, I think if the defense plays like this and are allowed to play like this moving forward, I am going to have a very tough time picking against the Buffalo Bandits, good or bad, moving forward, because this defense was just electric. And Connor Farrell, well, I don't really have anything in the miscellaneous to talk about him, but I thought he played really, really well. Baptiste is a beast at the circle. I don't think he won anything really clean, and I think the only clean balls that Faceoffs won were both by Connor Farrell. And, I mean, there was only 11 opportunities, but he did his job, and especially at the very end there with 1 second to go, he just tied it up and mucked it up. And it's good to see that he's able to do that, because we've not seen a game like that from him, or a face-off opportunity like that from him that he needs to do, and he did it perfectly.
Yeah, and we will discuss Matt Vince, because I don't want to leave this game at all without discussing him. My goodness. We know that he can turn it up to another level when playoffs happen, but that kind of performance is absolutely insane. Like, it's kind of like Dane and Josh. Like, you watch them be ridiculously amazing, and they do it so often, but you're still wowed every single time they're able to do it. It's still impressive, and Vince is the exact same way. Like, he's just coming off a game where he allowed 14 goals against Georgia. The team didn't play all that well, didn't need to play all that well. Everyone's a little bit worried, the defense did terrible, like, the Vince didn't play very well. And then you come into this game, Vince turns it on to playoff animal Vince, and my goodness, was he just ridiculous. Like, I understand the defense was giving him some shots that he wanted to see for the most part, but at the same time, when he needed to come up big, he came up huge. The amount of in-tight breakaway saves, rebound saves, like, he was just so dialed in. And to see him be able to turn it up to that level, again, we know he can do it, but to see it physically manifest when he's on the field, it's just so much fun to watch. And you already mentioned it, kind of the Josh Allen comparison. I do feel a little bit bad for Ulrich, who played absolutely out of his mind, holding the best offense to only 5 goals and 4 if you discredit we scoring, but gets the L because Vince played even better. And I don't know how somebody gets a 92 save percentage in a playoff game. He just turns it on to a whole nother level that just throughout the season, it seems like he kind of coasts at a very high level of Matt Vince ability. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I still have 8 more gears in the tank. Let me just crank it up here for playoffs, and you're never getting a goal past me again. Like, I really wish they would have held them to only 3 goals. And I think it would have been
yeah. He's let in 4
low.
Multiple times, but never 3.
Man, 1 second away from getting that 3-goal performance, but still 4 goals. Just, and like you already mentioned, if the defense is allowed to play like this, if Matt Vince plays like this, I have no worries about the offense being able to correct themselves. They're far too good to be held to only 5 goals again in a game, in my opinion. But if the defense and Vince can play at this level, nobody's touching this team. Like, they are just impossible to beat when they're at this level of just amazingness.
So he allowed no goals the first 17-11 of the game. Then it was 2 goals quickly in 38 seconds. But then scoreless for the next 22-12 between goals 2 and 3. And then, 1958, the remaining of the game until that very final one. The first goal, Belter, I think, gives a little bit too much space to Courier, but again, it's a great shot around the defense, ties it up 1-1. He shoots it far post. Just that shot from a transition player like Courier, again, not an MVP-worthy player. Just putting that out there. Just ridiculous. The next possession, Berg. I mean, I think Martin's kind of expecting a pick, and they got exposed too many times this season on this type of play where they push the guy up from the back, and then the other guy on defense is just expecting 2. Whitty kind of has to go attack McIntosh, and then Berg just rolls right to the middle on beat. I mean, if San Diego was able to do that more often in this game, I don't know if it was because Buffalo made the adjustments or what it was, but if they were able to do that, they could have scored more than 4 goals in this one. Leclerc, fake shot, Ron John way overcommits, and then he beats Matt Vince over far shoulder. That one's on the defense. And then the last one, Courier on the power play, 1 second left. The defense was scrambling. You had Buchanan and Smith out there. You only had Priello, and it was weird because Buchanan was supposed to be on the back half, but then Priello was supposed to be on the other side. It was all mixed match, so I'm not even going to really hold that one against anybody. It was kind of like a scramble right at the end. You couldn't get Buchanan and Smith off the field for Dawson and Wires. But yeah, overall, I mean, Mad Vince, playoff Mad Vince, this guy can play until he's 55 for all I know.
Hope he does.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, I get it. Like, I can only half get it because I've never been an athlete like this, but the ability to just like turn it up to a gear that nobody else has. At 42, going to be 43 this year, let alone at the goaltender position. It's stupid. Like, it's not fair to other humans in the world that just aren't able, like, if this was a sprint, he's like Usain Bolt that has that extra gear that's just not fair, that he can just look behind him. Yeah, he can just look behind him and just run backwards and beat everybody. Like, there's that extra gear that just nobody else has, and Matt Vince has that built into him that he's like what was that? Like, start the mechanism or whatever it was. I think the rookie, it was either the rookie or one of the other ones where the one pitcher comes in, he's like do the mechanism, and he shuts off all the sound around him. That's what Matt Vince does. It's just like, it's playoff time. Start the mechanism. It's just ridiculous. I don't have. It stinks that I have nothing else to talk about Matt Vince, but it's just let his greatness speak for us. Like, it's ridiculous. The only other things, and then we can kind of tidy this one up. Dave Buchanan doing play-by-play, like the start of the second half. Ridiculous. Not just doing that on the fly because he's not prepared for it, but doing it at field level and getting all the players' names right. There's some broadcasters in the entire league here that can't get it right from their vantage point. He got it right from the floor level. Just hats off to him. It was fantastic. He has a great career that I don't think... John Gertler is top tier. Like, should be Pirelli Award winner. I already predicted it. My bold predictions, whatever. But if there's ever a time where Gertler can't do it, whether he hangs him up or is missing a game, whatever, give Dave Buchanan a shot, because I thought it was fantastic out there. Flawless. Just great. I mean, there was that time where it got silent, but I think they were trying to see, okay, does their mics work? And then they don't, so he just does it until the timeout break. But absolutely fantastic. Loved it. Penalties-wise, Frazier's illegal body check, I thought that was like the one iffy call that they made. It seemed like it was more like a makeup call to even it out a bit. I think Gamble did a really good sell job on that one. It was a tiny bit high, but Frazier's gotten called on way too many of those. I don't know if it's just they're targeting him. Like, the league made note of, okay, Chase Frazier's been doing this, make note of this year, because he's been called for illegal body checks, turnover possessions too many times. Illegal bench sub, we already mentioned that one. Ridiculous. The 5-minute major for Dylan Robinson, we already mentioned this. Zach Belter one. We'll go over a different helmet issue earlier, but it was the correct call. He did deserve the penalty based on the rule. It's such a stupid rule that they need to change it. Like,
if this isn't built into the CBA.
Yeah, like, Ryan Benesh is the one that knocked off Belter's helmet. So why should Buffalo be penalized in that situation? It would go to a 5-on-4 just because your helmet got knocked off. He wasn't involved in the play. He grabbed his helmet, threw it back on. He wasn't involved in the play. It just happened the next shift to Thomas Whitty, where he loses his helmet and has to bust to the bench, and then it's a 5-on-4. Like, the offense was knocking the helmets off of the defenders, and they're getting the advantage to it. So maybe you just got to tie the chin straps tighter. Don't know what it is, but the rule needs to change next season because I hate it. Like, it's such a stupid rule that it should just be blow the whistles, start from where you're going, maybe change a possession. Like, that could be as simple as that, an easy fix. But it would have been a double penalty. Like, right. If he would have gotten the helmet off, exactly like Whitty, run off the field. If he doesn't get off the field quick enough, it could be a double 5-on-4 because, it's 5-on-4 there. It's a delayed penalty. If they don't score on that, that's a 2-minute penalty. Like, it's dumb. Like, it's a stupid. I get the idea behind it, but there's so many flaws to it. Like, we'll go over it in a second in the next game, but I hate that rule. I absolutely hate that rule. It needs to change this offseason.
And the biggest thing is exactly what you said, which I was going to mention too. Benny knocks his helmet off. Like, that is not fair. That all of a sudden the offense gets an advantage because the offensive player popped the defensive player in the face and knocked his helmet off, and then the defense is punished because if I was the offense, I'm just ripping players' helmets off all the time. Like, all right, go away. Like, now we got a quick 5-on-4, and
if you don't go away, then we get
then we get a penalty. And I think what Belter did, like, to the T of the rule, it's a penalty, but I think they could have let it go. Like, he checked the guy that as soon as he lost his helmet, he finished his one check, because you could tell there was a difference. Like, you're in the middle of the game, you're really focused. You could tell he mentally went through a switch, like, oh my gosh, I don't have
Yeah,
my
where are
helmet
my
on.
lines in front of my face?
Yeah, then like quickly grabbed it, threw it on, and then kept playing. Like, to me, that's not a penalty. Like you said, the play's not in front of him. They easily could have just let that go because he grabbed his helmet, put it back on, and went back into play. Like, I don't, like, to me, it's just, I get it to the letter of the rule. The second you lose your helmet, you're supposed to sprint off. But if I'm Belter in that situation, I'm not sprinting off and leaving my defenders down a guy.
Yep.
So I get what he's doing in that situation. Like, I wouldn't want to do that either. And to what he did, I think he played it, like, he played it to me what the rule should be. Like, he stopped, grabbed his helmet, put it on within a reasonable amount of time. And the play, like you mentioned, the ball wasn't in his area. So to me, that easily should have been let go. I get it. If you're playing extremely strict to the rule, it's a penalty. But again, when does the offensive player get penalized for punching him in the face and making him lose his helmet? Like, it's just such a dumb rule. I hate getting so heated about it, but we've seen it so many times in Bandits games. So many this year. And every single time, like, that's the biggest issue to me with the rules. Not only is it a dumb rule, but oftentimes, like, the player isn't like ripping his own helmet off. Yep. Like, he's losing his helmet for a reason. Josh Byrne had it earlier in the season too, where he gets hit in the face, loses his helmet, and somehow he's punished and gets a penalty because he lost his helmet after getting hit in the face. Like, why are the refs not looking at the initial cause? Or if you want to make it, like you mentioned, player safety, then blow the play dead. The second he loses his helmet, blow it dead. Go figure out why he lost his helmet. Give a penalty to the offensive player for punching him in the face, and then make it 4-on-4 or something. Like, if it's truly about player safety in that situation, then blow it dead, stop the play, let him get off the field, let the defense get their guy back on the field, and then resume play. Fresh 30, if you really want to do it that way, fine. But it just seems like such a weird thing to penalize a player for getting hit in the face and then penalize his team with an actual penalty, or like you said, he's running off the field and you get a free 5-on-4 for however long it takes him, especially because the bench was on the far side in that situation. So he's running all the way across the field, all the way back on for the defender. It's just, it's a stupid rule. And like you said, we'll talk about an even worse one in a game. And when we get to that NLL, I would not be calling things out like that. That just seems dumb, but we'll get to that in a moment.
But 4 milestones before we get into our final sponsor. Dane Smith is now in the top 10 in games played in playoff history. Paul Dawson, of course, moves into third place in block shots. John Tavares now tied Les Bratley for 7th in coaching games in the playoffs. And Connor Farrell is now in 4th place, passing Tom Fair for faceoff wins. And we will move on to our third and final sponsor of the show before closing out the show with the Totally Buffalo Store. Their mission is to celebrate all things. I forgot it was me reading this one. Their mission is to celebrate all things Buffalo with over 100 local artisans. They are the place to go when you need a gift for a friend or just want to shop around for something for yourselves. 3 locations, easy to find, easy to locate wherever you are in Western New York. There's one by you, so go. I'm telling you, I'm ordering you. Go. 3328 Sheridan Drive in Amherst, 3459 Amelia Drive in Orchard Park, and 467 Center Street in Lewiston.
PK, the Bandits' love is flowing at the Totally Buffalo Store right now with new items being added weekly. Most recently, there was an addition of a fancy black and orange swirl, earrings, bookmarks, and magnets. It's a pretty cool design and logo. But if that's not what you're into, you can head on over to their Facebook page, check out their recent posts. They are a lot of them showing off the wide selection of Bandits and Buffalo lacrosse merchandise, from tumblers to hydrate before the game to the hard-to-find Zubas for during the game or sweatshirts to stay warm after the game, plus much more. You can also check out their Instagram page or go to thetotallybuffalostore.com.
Shop local, shop small. You're not going to find this stuff in the big box stores. We'll go over the rest of round 1. Everything took place on Saturday. We have 3 puppies now, and we're also watching my sister-in-law's dogs. So we have 6 dogs in the house. We're outnumbered 2-1 because my brother's actually living in the upstairs. It's a whole complicated situation. But, 6 dogs, 3 humans, not fair. But I was watching all 3 of these games.
Each dog watch a game for you and report back?
I should have sent out some scouting. I should have sent 2 to each game and just reported back. But we watched this one in the kitchen. This was a fantastic game between Calgary and Halifax. Halifax ended up getting the win 16-2, or 16-12 too, would have been breaking records. But Halifax led 3-0 after 1, 8-3 at half, 11-7 after 3. 10 goals were scored in the fourth quarter, and I know the broadcast kept saying, Calgary's still in it, Calgary's still in it, but every time it felt like Calgary was still in it, Halifax would go right down and score. And I will give Pat Gregoire huge credit on this one. He said, Tanner Cook and Dawson Theed were the main time players to watch in this one. Whichever one performs better, their team proudly wins. Dawson Theed went out and scored 3, 5-point night, where Tanner Cook ended up with 2 assists. So big hats off to Pat Gregoire. He pointed this out, but I will also give huge credit to Hutchison. I think he played phenomenal in this one. Halifax's biggest issue going into the playoffs and this whole season was goaltending. Drew Hutchison in the last 2.5 games, because he came in relief in Hill in the one game. He's been fantastic. If you get this type of goaltending from Halifax, you might get a finals that I predicted. But Calgary 2 for 7 on the power play. If you want to look towards anything, and there's been rumors out there that Calgary is going to go through another major shakeup this offseason. Maybe I'll be right and put Calgary at 14th in my power rankings to start next season. Maybe. But Halifax, congratulations. Sellout, first home playoff game ever, and the crowd got an absolute show.
Yeah, Halifax did incredible. Like you said, they got up early, and then they just did not let go of that lead. Calgary attempted a couple times to sneak back into the game, but every single time Halifax was there to shut down the run. I thought Rose looked a bit rough in this one. I know a lot of fans were calling him out for losing the game for them, but he is still an incredible goalie. He's one of the reasons they made playoffs at all, so I don't know if you really want to be putting everything on him, but he did a few of the goals. I was like, that's unlike Rose to let in, so it didn't look like he was bringing 100% in his A game. Not that he didn't want to, but he looked a little off in that game. But at the same time, like you said, Hutchinson, huge credit to him. He's been able to step up in those situations. You've been calling Hutchinson a great goalie for quite a long time, asking for him to get some starts. So there it is. He got a start, and he looked great doing it. Halifax, still a very scary team. Calgary has a lot of internal looking to do.
Yeah, Calgary's going to be a very interesting team this offseason. But the team that Halifax is going to be facing is the Rush. 13-11 win. Georgia led 2-0 early in the first quarter, but Saskatchewan scored 4 straight to make it 4-2 after 1. It was 6-3 at half, 8-6 after 3. All I really want to say with this one is thank you, Georgia. I don't have to talk about you anymore. Go do some self-reflection this offseason, figure out what the heck's wrong with your team, because it's another one and done in the playoffs. Major changes need to happen to this core or this owner, or this coaching staff, whatever it might be. But you can't keep running it back and expecting different results. This team was, I've said it so many times, I don't know how many times on the show I've said it straight episodes. Georgia was the most frustrating team this offseason because you could see what was there. It's just the pieces aren't fitting together. It's a puzzle. In the end, it can make a beautiful picture, but when you have pieces from 10 different puzzles, it's not going to create something. In the end, yeah, maybe you're able to match it up, but the result doesn't look right. So it's just, Georgia to me has to figure it out. Saskatchewan, I don't know. I think Chiliano played amazingly, but I think their offense struggled in this one versus the Georgia defense. You got 4 goals from Jake Boudreau in the transition game, which is great, yes, but Church, no goals. Mans, 1 goal. Haley, no goals. So the offense moving forward has to change, or, we even mentioned it, first one to 10 wins it. Saskatchewan was first to 10, pat myself on the back, but I think Saskatchewan's in for, to me, a rough series versus Halifax if they can't figure out the offensive side of the ball. If they can't, Halifax could win these ones 16-10 and just sweep the series.
Yeah, I think this game remained closer than it should have, and I think a big reason is exactly what you just mentioned. I think the Rush offense just should have been better in this game, and I think if they were, this game's out of control much earlier than it ended up being. I think it was a closer game on paper, but it really wasn't that close of a game. Georgia, yes, in theory was in it, but not really, especially when their offense is doing absolutely nothing. Like you said, Chiliano played great, but Lyle, you need more in that situation from a player like that. Yeah, I know you can
or Andrew Q also, yeah.
Right, and I know you can look at the Bandits and be like, well, Smith and Byrne didn't do anything either, but they weren't asked to come back in a game like that. They weren't asked to step up in a game and really push the pace because the Bandits were winning the whole time. So, yes, you can call them out as well for the Bandit side of the offense, but in a game where your team is behind most of the game, you need your stars to step up. And Georgia, something we mentioned for pretty much most of the season, they don't have the depth on offense to come back in a game like this. And again, closer than it seemed, but the Rush handled it pretty easily, kind of as expected. But at the same time, like you said, moving forward, the Rush need to pick it up if they want a chance against Halifax.
So Buffalo has their dance partner. It will be Vancouver on Friday night in Banditland at the Bank after Vancouver defeated Rochester 15-10. It got a little bit closer in the second half, but Rochester, again, no show in the playoffs. Vancouver 4-1 after 1, 9-3 at half, 11-5 after 3. They got it to 11-8 and 13-10 at one point in the fourth quarter, but man, it's just Rochester was a very frustrating team in the playoffs here. I think they ended up being the team that we thought they would be, but Rylan Hartley struggled in this one. The defense was not good enough in this one. The offense only puts up 10 points. You had their main guys. You had Fields, 2 for 16 shooting. McConvey, 3 for 12 shooting. Smith, 3 for 13 shooting. So the majority of the goals that you relied upon this season, the shots were going right at Christian Dobianco's chest. The one thing that I am going to point out, and we already hinted at this one, and you brought up the perfect point. And yes, we can break down Vancouver versus Buffalo on the next show, which will be coming out on Thursday, not Friday, because of the Friday game. Keegan Ball, and this is not a shot at him, this is the inconsistencies, this is why the rule is dumb. He had his helmet knocked off from along the boards. He ended up at the restraining line in the middle of the field. By the time his helmet, it was already gone. Like, he took 5 to 10 steps, made a great pass to Dylan McIntosh, which scored. Letter of the law, that should have been a penalty and not a goal. Now, the league is putting it on their Twitter page and saying, hey, look at this great play. You can even play without a helmet. Stupid. Like, the league is stupid. You're advertising a penalty that shouldn't have counted when you can just show the other game. Maybe I should just reply to it and just go, okay, cool, that's not a penalty, but Zach Belter's here is a penalty. Where's the line here? This is why the rule is so stupid. Again, I think the rule was put in place for a smart, good reason. Player safety. It's not being referees that way. It's not being called that way. It's not being ruled that way. It needs to change this offseason. I'm going to harp on it nonstop. If you're a Buffalo Bandits fan and you didn't watch this game and you're easily able to be ranting like me, don't watch it. It's dumb. It's stupid. It makes no sense. He did so much more than any Buffalo player has this season that got called for the exact same penalty. Don't watch it. You're just going to get frustrated and see the TV behind me. My head's going to go through it soon.
And that's the thing. Like, they just posted it. Like, hey, Bandits fans, you want to be really upset? Watch this play of this guy getting his helmet knocked off, taking a bunch of steps, making a lacrosse move to pass the ball, and then they score on it with no penalty called. Like, not only, like you said, if Bandit fans didn't watch this game, you probably, if the league doesn't bring it to everybody's attention, this just gets swept under the rug and nobody knows. Instead, let's post it all over everything where Bandits fans are clearly paying attention. Like, what the heck? Like, I just... Why are you pointing out the inconsistencies of a rule? And it's just horrible to me. Like, I don't get why bring so much attention to it? Like, hey, we screwed up. Go look at it. It's hilarious. Like, no, that's not funny in playoff lacrosse. Like, I mean, if that penalty against Belzer would have turned into something bigger and that game against San Diego turned into something bigger with one of the causes being that penalty, then, yikes, there'd be a lot of protests. Even the other one I saw, which, again, I was like, what are we doing as a league and social media? The one, I don't know if you saw it, the hit on Nick Rose.
Yeah.
Where it was like huge hit, and he barely got touched, and Nick Rose does what Nick Rose does. He flopped, and, I'm all for Nick Rose doing that. He draws a lot of penalties for it, and whatever, do what you got to do. But they showed, 9 angles of him barely getting touched. They're like, whoa, look at this huge hit against the goalie. And all the comments were like, what? That's a huge hit? He barely got touched. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we calling out weird plays that the comments are just going to hate all over you? I mean, I know clearly we're talking about it, so it gets people talking, sure. I don't know.
In my defense, I was going to talk about it regardless of their post or not, because it's stupid. But they just drew more attention to a rule that we've been yelling about. And I think the only reason they didn't blow that dead was because it was an offensive player doing it. The majority of the times that Buffalo has been called for it has been on the defensive side of the ball. It's just, I don't like... But
there was the Burn one. I mean, he got called.
But even the Burn one didn't get called. They said it was within a reasonable amount of time. They said Keegan Balls was in a reasonable amount of time. No, so 6, 7, 8 steps making a pass is reasonable time. But realizing you don't have a helmet on, grabbing it, putting it back on is not reasonable time. That's my issue is... Call it one way or be consistently good or be consistently bad. One or the other, not both. It's stupid.
Fix the rule.
Yeah, but that will conclude this episode. If you want to go over Buffalo's draft really quick, I think they did well. I think they drafted majority defense. They didn't draft a running back, which I'm happy about. They drafted a wide receiver super late. They drafted defensive linemen later. I mean, the defensive end was in the 72nd pick. I'm happy about that. They got Hairston, who sounds like he's a little bit undersized, but he plays bigger than he is, elite skills. He's just got to work on his tackling. I think TJ Sanders trading up for him to clog up the middle is going to be great. He's also a playmaker is there as well. And then Landon Jackson, I do like his tape, but they just have a bad reputation of drafting defensive linemen that don't end up panning out. But overall, I think they did a very good job addressing the defense. Their first 5 picks were defenders. The first 5 of 6 were 6 of 7 draft picks were defenders. The only issue I have is a lot of these people not going to be making the team. So maybe Brandon Bean, there's going to be some trades that are going to be made this preseason. But overall, I think they did a very good job in the draft. I liked what they did. If Hairston can be that cornerback 2 opposite of Christian Benford and you're set for 5 years now, I like it. I like it. It's just, I still think they need to add another weapon on the outside for the team, but we'll see. Overall, I like their draft.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were yelling that they didn't give Allen any support or the offense any support, but if you go back and look at the last few seasons, Allen's just being Allen no matter who he has. I know you'd love him to get that alpha wide receiver. I would have last draft too, but at this point, the Bills, I think, saw how the Eagles won against Mahomes, and it was rushing forward and playing great cornerback and great defense, and that's how you win. The offense has been fantastic for years and years because Allen can do whatever he does with whoever's on the field. But the defense has been their shortcome the last couple of years. They just have not been able to perform well enough when it comes to playoffs. And I think these moves, hopefully, will pan out to be what they need to get over the hump defensively in the playoffs, because they do need to be able to rush the quarterback with just 4. That's how their system works. And I think they went out and tried to get those players to do just that. So I'm fine with it being defensive heavy. I know, weapons are much more exciting to draft and whatnot, but this is what's going to help you actually win games. I think they did a good job picking who they got. I'm glad they traded up for players when they thought that, that guy was going to be the one that they needed. I think they may have found their Dawson Knox replacement for next season when he gets cut for $10 million in Hayes, however you say his name. I saw a little bit of his interview. He seems like he loves to block and loves the physicality. So I think he's going to be a very interesting run game weapon with some decent hands as well. Very, very similar to Knox. So I think the writing on the wall might be for Knox to be gone next year. So we'll see on that. But overall, like you said, I like their draft. I like the depth they added. Even the tackle in Lund seems like a pretty solid offensive trench pick as well. So overall, not the flashiest of drafts for sure with all defense for the most part. But I think it's a draft that the Bills needed to have.
So that will conclude this episode. We will have Adam Levy on the show on Wednesday. Check out that interview. We'll be talking about the round 2 of the playoffs. It's going to be an epic week. Then we'll be back Thursday for our normal preview episode because, again, they're playing Friday, Sunday. So we're going to have to adjust our schedule once again next week. If it was Rochester, I think they would have been playing Friday, Saturday because of the close travel. Because they have to go coast to coast. That's one of the negatives of the unified standings. It's a Sunday night game at 6 p.m., so we'll probably have to we will be moving our recording more than likely. But that will conclude this one. Stay tuned for more Bandits content as we move forward because they advanced 5 to 4.
Thank goodness.
5 to 4. Don't have to come on here and cry. We just ranted about things that ended up not mattering in the game. Yeah, helmets. We ranted about helmets. So thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room, Totally Buffalo Store, and Phrase Flowers for sponsoring this show and this episode. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com, where you will find Phil's article on Tuesday. Check out our store on our link trees on our social media sites or at the top of the website by just hitting the shop tab. You can follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. Leave us that review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time.